Welcome to this week's episode of the Happy Psychic Podcast. I am your host, your guiding light, Gemma Lonsdale. And this week I have the wonderful Dinny Carmen on the show. And Dinny is also known as the Sober Manifestor on Instagram and TikTok. She is here to share with us her journey to becoming alcohol free, how she has manifested the best life yet, how you can do that too. And she also talks to us about the healing journey. Welcome to this week's episode of the Happy Psychic Podcast. I am joined by the wonderful Dinny Carmen. Hello, Dinny.
Hi.
It is very, very good to have you here. So Dinny is known as the Sober Manifestor on all of the social media channels. I know that we obviously are connected through TikTok as well as Instagram. And I am just absolutely fascinated about your journey because you are a fellow psychic medium, which is brilliant. Mm-hmm. You're also a coach as well. Mm-hmm. And I am super intrigued about your journey of how you actually got here in the first place. So how many years have you been sober now?
2.5 years, actually. It's 2 years and 6 months this month. Wow.
Yeah.
That goes by really quickly.
Yeah, you should be so proud of yourself, though. That's amazing.
I am. And sadly, I didn't realise I was an alcoholic until I moved to America.
Oh, well, that's a good point, actually, because you've obviously got a British accent, but you are in Utah. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in Utah. I've been in America for 12 years now. It was 12 years this past week. It's crazy.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your background then in terms of your issues around alcohol and what sort of relationship did you have with alcohol whenever you were younger? Not that you're young, you're still young now. We're both young, but, you know, back in teenage years, young adulthood.
Yeah, culturally, we are the same age. I'm 40. You're younger than me, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be 40 in January. Yeah. So we're the same age pretty much, yeah.
All right.
I'm younger.
Just. Culturally, alcohol was just... It was all right. It wasn't really a bad thing. And, you know, back in the day when we were younger, we could get into the clubs without ID and the pubs and everything else. And more often than not, I would be there with adults who were in my life, you know, uncles, aunts, parents, whatever. It just wasn't a bad thing. And I don't think I had a bad relationship with it until I realized that it would cure my panic attacks, which I started getting really, really young. Which I now know was a lot to do with, yes, trauma, but mainly spirit trying to step into my energy and guide me. And it was affecting me physically and being petrified of medication for whatever reason, I don't know. I realized that a quick glass of wine would calm me down. And going through such a tumultuous life, you know, with my my two eldest children, their father was very violent. I didn't drink the whole time I was with him because you had to be aware. And then as soon as he left, that was it. The ball started rolling. And by the time I had realized it, when I got divorced from then my second partner, I was drinking. When he had the kids, I was drunk by 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It was bad.
Yeah, it's funny. You actually mentioned something there about the anxiety. And I think that's one thing that people miss whenever they've got feelings like that coming up. That's actually the universe signaling to you that there's something that you need to deal with. You've got some unhealed trauma here. You need to sort this out, not numb it. And the numbing is the thing that we sort of step forward for quickly.
Yeah. A lot of people say that they drink to forget, and it wasn't that with me. I drank to feel normal. If I wasn't drinking, I was shaking, and it wasn't because I was having withdrawals or anything like that. My body was reacting, and reacting is such a prominent word in this. And now I'm sober, I teach people how to respond, planned responses to deal with the universe's way of signaling you, but you react so badly that you just want it to stop because you can't take it anymore. And I think that in the last, 10 years, we're seeing a lot of people going through these panic attacks, extreme panic attacks and anxiety. And my personal belief is the world is waking up and our bodies are reacting. So we have to show them how to respond.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed lately is whenever I feel like a little sense of anxiety or something coming up in my stomach, I instinctively know now that I've got something coming up to heal. There's some sort of trauma, there's some sort of emotion is trying to work its way out of my body.
Absolutely.
But for so many years, I was really numb to that feeling. I wouldn't have known that that's what was happening. I sometimes didn't even really connect the sensations within my body. And that was just how disconnected I actually was from being in my human and spiritual form. I was just so disconnected from myself. And I think so many of us are. We're so busy moving through life and doing the stuff that we view as important that we just don't realize what's going on within ourselves.
And worse still, we're given things by doctors or whatever to heal your physical symptoms when it isn't the physical symptoms we're supposed to be healing. We're supposed to be healing the spirit. There's no medication for that. It's time, it's effort, it's silence, it's answering the call. That is what heals us.
Do you think that that's something that's within Western medicine, though, that we're just, you know, you're right, the doctors want to put like a Band-Aid over everything. They want to just give us a tablet to take the symptoms away, but we're really not getting to the root cause of stuff. Do you think Western medicine actually understands that for a start?
I don't have anything against Western medicine, don't get me wrong. I think it's very necessary in a lot of circumstances, but I really like this functional medicine that's coming, and I like the practicality of it, which is focusing more on like the body's vibrations and the body's wants and needs spiritually and energetically. I'd like to see them come together and I'd like to see us being healed instinctively and intuitively. But, you know, money's money, and Western medicine is a profitable business. So
yeah. And one of the things, whenever I had breast cancer, I think I got my diagnosis in about 2018 off the top of my head. And my body was using the additional estrogen that it was producing in order to create a cancer tumor, which, yay, you know, excellent. And obviously one of the solutions was surgery. There was treatment. There was a tablet that we would take ongoing in order to prevent my body from, I think it was preventing my body from utilizing the estrogen, how it wanted to utilize it, or to prevent certain production of estrogen. And I just couldn't get my head around the fact that, well, why are we not figuring out why my body's doing this in the first place? Surely that would be a good place to start, figuring out why is your body producing so much estrogen, and then we can solve that issue rather than putting me on a tablet that causes other cancers. I just, my mind boggled really, and that was before I was really on this journey of, you know, it was really before I was fully embedded within my spiritual pathway, being honest. So it was my body intuitively and my mind intuitively wanting to understand, okay, well, how can we resolve this naturally? So there was all these things coming up, but I hadn't realized that, you know, this was such a profound thing. And, you know, you mentioned functional medicine there, and that is exactly what that is. And I hadn't realized, but my brain was just like, well, why can't we just solve the issue and figure out why it's doing it, and then I don't have to take, you know, the medication. And that is something that we really need to apply to our whole lives, you know, throughout whenever we're feeling, okay, well, why am I feeling this? Why am I reacting this way? Why am I doing this? Why is this behavior happening?
Absolutely. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule. There's certain situations where Western medicine is absolutely 100% needed. But I love the spiritual connection between me and you, because just before I got sober, I had lymph nodes swelling up in my groin area. And actually all of my issues since then have been in that same lower region, which is around my root chakra, which is where we store most of our trauma emotionally. And I realized when I was having biopsies done, is it cancer? Is it cancer? I had download. That's when I really stepped into my spiritualness, like wholeheartedly. I had known I had a gift for years, but I had a download from spirit, and they went, wake up, it's only going to get worse, wake up. And I got sober like that. I was like, okay, we're going to start this journey. And I still am on that journey. I've put on a lot of weight since then because I allowed myself to heal from sobriety. Sobriety is a journey in itself. But functionally, it's a process. We should be learning and healing every single day, every day. And I'm learning something new about myself all the time. All the time.
Yeah. And that's how it should be. I think that's some things that we talk about healing and we talk about being healed, but the reality is that we're never healed. Like, it is an ongoing journey, and there's always going to be new challenges that are thrown on our path as well.
Absolutely. And let's open up. We'll talk eons here. There are karmic patterns and past lives. And if we're lucky enough to heal, you know, a large percentage of the stuff that we experience in this human experience, because we're really truly meant to get through that as quick as possible. Yeah. Then we have the opportunity to start healing patterns from other lives. So next is just the most amazing experience beyond anything that we can perceive.
Yeah.
We won't get there.
You know, one of the most profound things for me whenever I've been on my journey, we talk about weight loss. Obviously, I'm a larger lady. My weight has fluctuated through my whole life, and it definitely is a sore point for me, or there's been times in my life which it has been more of a sore point than others. And I have lost weight over the years. Gained a little bit back recently, but what we don't realise as well is that people's connection with food and people's connection with their weight is all to do with healing. It's not just a case of, oh, you're fat, stop eating. Our body holds on to weight where it holds on to trauma. You know, trauma and the emotions and all of those self-beliefs that we have, or the lack of self-love, the lack of self-worth, that all impacts on our relationship with food. It impacts on how our body processes, you know, all of those emotions and the food that we do eat. And that is one thing that we're not really talking enough about, I don't think.
No, I've put on about 45 pounds and I've started to lose it now when I decided I was ready. But for a minute, when I started putting this weight on, I got really depressed and I thought, oh my God, I finally got sober now, look. But when I sat down and I thought to myself, my body is just giving me the cushion it needs, because sobriety is a process. It's a journey. You're not just getting sober from alcohol. You're learning how to live a sober life. That's Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays, all these situations that you now have to rewire with your brain. It's not that I'm out there binge eating food. My body is just giving me extra cushion in case I fall again, which I never did. And now intuitively, my body is saying, okay, Dinny, are you ready? Are you ready? And this is the message I'm getting every day. And I'm like, yeah. And they said, this is going to be easier this time. And we're not going to lose weight. Obviously the weight will come off, but we're not here to lose the weight. Now we're here to heal your body. Your mind is ready. Your mind is ready to heal your body. And that was like profound, because before, losing weight was just about losing weight. And I was harming my body to do it because my brain was so broken.
That is brilliant. That is absolutely profound. You know, I think one of the things that we really talk about is having these aha moments. And it was at that moment it just all changed. And yes, that might be the pivot point, but the actual change still takes a long time. The healing doesn't happen almost instantly in that moment. You still have to continue to heal. It's the baby steps that led up to that pivot moment. Now you have the baby steps in order to really heal and overcome whatever it is that you're actually fighting with. It's funny because I've never really struggled with alcohol necessarily. I was very much a binge drinker. I think that's the patterns that we have really in Britain is we go out and we just get absolutely hammered, and that was very much the lifestyle that I lived. I wouldn't have drank until I went out, and then I drank until I would have been collapsed on the floor. There was nights that I can't remember getting home. I can't remember getting dressed. There's a night that I actually had where I am certain something happened with a man that I didn't consent to. And that was all through binge drinking and drinking too much and not respecting my limits and my boundaries of my body. And yet I still wouldn't have said that I had an alcohol problem. However, the thoughts of going out for a night and not drinking, and I wasn't out all of the time, but whenever I did go out, I got hammered. And really that is a problem with alcohol, whenever you can't just go out and not drink, or you go out and just have one. Yeah. And yes, it's not like I was waking up every day having to drink, but my relationship with alcohol was definitely one of, well, if I'm going to have a drink, I'm having a drink.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was, I can't wait to go out. I just want to get drunk. I just want to let loose. And now I look back on it and I think, all right, it was a period of my life and I was exactly the same when I was in England. And I get it. And I had a lot of fun and I did put myself in questionable positions. And I married a man I met in a gay bar. I mean, let's go. I did all things. But when I got to America, we don't socialize the same here as what we do in England. There's no going out Friday, Saturday, or, on a Thursday or a Monday or a Tuesday. We don't do that here. So I started to drink at home. My dad just passed before I moved to America too. So I was grieving and drinking. And I had some breaks where I had a couple kids. I didn't drink when I was pregnant. But then when I got divorced and I started having time away from the children because he would take them, what else am I going to do? I was an entrepreneur, so I could drink whenever I wanted. Yeah. And then that binge drinking, because that's what I was doing, went every night. And it got ridiculous. I was dying. And I stopped drinking to feel normal and I let it take over me. Habits are very interesting when you're a very spiritual person. When we're drinking and when we're drunk, we are more open and we feel like we have a stronger connection to spirit. And actually we have a distorted connection to spirit because we may hear them, but they don't hear us. So we let all sorts through. And that's what made me physically sick. I think that's why my lymph nodes were swelling up. And that's where a lot of disease comes from, I think, when you're drinking, is that distorted spiritual connection. So yeah, I'm so glad it's over. And I 100%, I'm not telling everyone to go out and get sober and stop drinking. But in my journey, having no alcohol in my system, I'm completely clean and sober, no drugs, no alcohol. My spiritual connection is so strong, as strong as it's ever been, to the point where I can pick up details now when I'm reading with people. And I've never been able to do that when I was drinking.
One of the things that I noticed on my journey, because I don't drink anymore either, I haven't drank for a few years. I think I've maybe had a glass of champagne or, something, at a celebration. But as a general rule of thumb, I don't drink. I don't drink when I go out. I don't go out generally. My clubbing days are beyond me. As, we discussed, I'm going to be 40 in January. So, going to clubs and pubs and things like that is certainly a thing of the past for me. Yeah. And I haven't really drank for a very long time, for quite a number of years. However, one of the things that I had started to notice when I was on my spiritual journey, and I did attempt to have a drink or a few drinks, I was noticing that actually I was feeling really depressed and down and getting anxiety in the days after that. And I hadn't actually realised the impact that a hangover had on me.
Yeah.
It was almost like it was lowering my vibration so much, drinking this alcohol. We're drinking to have fun and to have a good time. But I guess we come to a point where either one, we're just starting to notice that a little bit more, or we're starting to be so sensitive to it that our body is like, no, this is awful. Don't do this to me again. I am going to make you feel so bad, Gemma, that you're never going to lift a gin again. No more shots for you. And that's another thing, I started to become so much more aware of my body that I could notice those things.
Absolutely.
Afterwards.
Your body will start to reject it. That's what happened with me. I would drink more because it would just take the hangover away, right? And that's how we slip in even further into addiction. But absolutely, your body does start to reject it, because my personal belief is in our late 30s and around 40, we start to wake up spiritually. That's our time. We've gone through everything we need to go through, and we're ready now to enjoy the last half of our life, or more than half, whatever it is, with this like awakening experience. And your body does start to reject things it doesn't need. I'm a major manifestor. That's why I'm called the Sober Manifestor. And the first thing I teach everybody is the purge. And my general rule of thumb is, if it doesn't serve you, let it go. And obviously habits, people, things go through your junk drawer, your purse, your car, your friendships, everything. If it doesn't serve you, let it go. And your body is going through that process naturally. So you will start to notice that as you get older, you can't handle the alcohol anymore because it's time. They're literally saying, it's time. Here's your sign. It's time.
And it's really important not to expect, I think, overnight change and success. Change often happens so gradually that we don't see it, day to day.
Yeah.
It's whenever we look back over a year or 2 years or 3 years and we're like, wow, like, look how far I've come, but we won't notice it necessarily day to day. Or we might feel like we're not changing and not moving forward, but there's often lots of changes happening just whenever we don't realize.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Did you have any other issues outside of alcohol, like with drugs, smoking?
God.
Anything?
I always say I drank so much because I smoked so much. I would drink until my cigarettes ran out. I love smoking cigarettes. And I love it when people smoke around me because I like the smell, but I will never smoke again. My body started to reject that also. I'm British and I hate to say this, but a lot of people from my generation smoked from a really young age, 12, 13. My first cigarette was at my cousin's house. Sorry, Joanne, right? See?
Yeah.
She was like,
I was in with that as well. I can remember cycling to the shop on my bike. And me and my friend would have saved our lunch money from that day, and we would have bought cigarettes. And it was like they were £1 something for anybody that was in England. Yeah. And we used to go in and share and then smoke, it was a pack of 10, so we would have smoked 5 each and then been sick because our body is like thinking, well, what on earth is happening here? And that was from a really young age. That was what we did, behind the bike sheds at school.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
I had such a long journey to school. I was very independent from such a young age that I had no parental control. I had no one looking over me going, don't do this. So I would smoke at home. My dad was at work, and my sister smoked. So he had no idea. If he came back and he smelt smoke in the kitchen, because we would smoke out the back door, he wouldn't go, oh, have you been smoking, Janora? He would just not bat an eyelid. My sister used to roll me cigarettes because we smoke roll-ups as well to send me to school with, and I used to keep them in a cassette tape case so they wouldn't break. I would kill my children if they decided to do that. I can't imagine my 12-year-old, she's 8, but even being 12, I can't.
I'm the same actually. So my daughter is 9. Well, she'll be 10 in January, and I can't imagine her ever smoking. And really, the reality is that I was doing a lot worse than her, just a few years away from the age that she's at now. And that's quite frightening, but also quite comforting that I can't imagine her doing that. Yeah. I was never really into drugs. I never really dabbled that much with drugs or anything like that. I know that there was people around me that did. I think I would have smoked weed.
Same.
Cigarettes, smoking, drinking, and I definitely was involved in that. And definitely as I've got older, I haven't smoked I had quit smoking for quite a long time, and then I started again one night whenever I was drinking, funnily enough, because it's almost like a habit that can go hand in hand for many people, 100. Isn't it? Whenever you're drinking one hand, cigarette in the other, and I quit again, and I just couldn't imagine smoking now. I think my body, as you say, my body would reject it. And I know that it's no good for me. The alcohol would be no good for me. Yep. So, even smoking weed, I think would just lower my vibration too much. I'm just quite happy with.
I think about it every now and again. Yesterday, I was like, maybe I could go back to that. Because I get anxiety still like everybody else, even though I understand a lot of it is spirit. I still get it because they're saying to me, okay, this is more information that you need. Let's go. Yeah. Those moments are uncomfortable. And sometimes I can't get to the messages straight away because I've got 4 kids. Yeah. I run a business. But I think maybe I'll go back to doing that. And then I always circle around and go, Dinny, you're supposed to feel the anxiety. It's like a map. Yes, it's uncomfortable for a moment, but the breakthrough is always the most beautiful thing you've experienced. And that's what we have to understand is this is an experience. We're supposed to feel all of it. You don't go to a horror movie and say, don't show me the scary bits.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's often the most fun.
Yeah. But it is true though that those feelings and then the sensations, the anxiety, all of that serves a purpose within us because it's helping us to do what we came here to do in the first place. And that was to learn, to grow, to evolve, to walk a path of light. And we can't do that while we're drugged up to the eyeballs or, hammered.
No. And more play to everyone who wants to go and do that. Like, that's great. That is part of your journey. Like, and this is really important to note. We are all here individually, and I only put existing in your life because you're perceiving me and vice versa. But the journey that I am on, I just cannot. And I'm here now. Now I'm fully awake and I'm working towards my purpose. I'm living my purpose. I understand that every single moment that I live in, I have to live it intuitively. So I eat intuitively. Even if I want to have a donut, I'll eat a donut because intuitively that's what I want. I know now that I don't live in a space of lack. Let's get on that for 1 second. We talked about weight earlier. Sorry, I know we're circling back, but
that's okay.
I really struggled with binge eating because I was a binge drinker. And I talk about this in my book, that day ones. I had many day ones. There's always a day one. Monday's coming. I'll start again. So I'll have what I call like my death meal on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Well, I'll just eat everything and just get it out the way because I know on Monday I'm not going to be able to eat anything I want. I probably had 6,027 day ones because I would always mess it up by the weekend. And then I would just go, okay, I'm going to have my death meals and then I'll resurrect on Monday. Now I just live intuitively. I know if I want it, I can have it whenever I want it. And because nothing is lacking, I don't need it all the time, right? Yeah. So I just wait and I'll eat it on Friday.
Yeah. But whenever we start to recognize that actually we're using those things as a comfort, as a soothing, it's like a way of soothing, whether it's food, alcohol, drugs, whatever, we're soothing ourselves, spending, sex, whatever it might be. It is a way for us to numb the pain. What, spending or sex?
Right. At the same time.
But it is, it's a way for us to soothe. And I think we don't really give ourselves enough credit for actually, we're doing okay. And yes, we might be doing those things, but that's fine. We just need to be conscious of it. Being conscious of it is the first step. And then it's like, okay, well, what can I do to figure this out? What is this pointing towards? Why am I doing this? And starting to ask ourselves those little questions whenever we notice those unhelpful habits coming up.
And I think perception is everything. And yes, we understand that we do it to soothe. But what if I told you you're doing it to raise your vibration? And that's the goal.
Interesting.
So what if you're not soothing? What if you are just trying to feel that feeling of that space you need to be in to get to the next level?
You mean to feel so bad, to feel the discomfort so strongly in order to push yourself out of it?
Both. So to feel good in the moment, to feel bad in the after moments, and to feel. Mm-hmm. We make our biggest magic, the most beautiful magic we make, I teach in the meh area. So not high, not low, middle ground. When you're feeling meh. Because we have the ability.
I thought you said math.
Yeah. That's what we should do. In our meth moment. No. Yeah. In our middle ground, in our meth moment. That is where we make the most magic because we have the ability to raise our vibrations, to feel, and then to come back to that moment. If we're constantly riding in the high, which is when we're drinking, when we're binge eating, there's nowhere else to go. What's next is down. So you're trying to manifest, you're trying to live a great life, you're trying to listen to spirit. And then all that work is ruined because you have the hangover, the food hangover, the sex hangover, whatever. We create here and we allow ourselves to go up and we come back down. So if you understand that when you binge eat or when you're binge drinking, you're just trying to chase that high vibration, there are other ways to do that. There are, and you don't have to go run a marathon to get it. I love my days where you watch those kind of movies that make you just cry your eyes out or laugh out loud. It's that feel good. That is a way to raise your vibration. Be with your family that you love. Create the food you're going to eat. That express food, it's not just bad nutritionally. It's bad because it's quick. You're missing the beauty of it with creation. We're here to create. You know,
it's so funny because actually with food, it's the creating. I love cooking. Cooking is my thing. Cooking is almost like a therapy for me. And I think that I'm quite fabulous in the kitchen, if I'm being honest. I am manifesting a cookery show, even though I have no cooking qualifications whatsoever. I just have it in my head that I want to do something with food and, creating food. And food for me is definitely a therapy, but I get so much more joy from creating the dish than what I do from actually eating it in the first place. And I love feeding other people. I love, the dinner parties, having a family to cook for, seeing people's happy faces. However, when you have a 9-year-old, it's very rarely a happy face because usually it's like, well, I want the chicken nuggets, where's the chocolate? Where they don't necessarily have the same appreciation for food. But that's what I get the joy from, is the creation and the love and everything, and the time and effort and the thought that we put into actually creating the dish in the first place. And by the time I've done that, sometimes I'm not even in the mood to eat, but I've really enjoyed the creative process. For sure. And I work very intuitively with that, with spirit. Now that I'm on my spiritual path and I've got all of my spiritual gifts, spirit will tell me, we'll add a bit of this, add a bit of that, don't add too much of this, put a bit, this herb in. And I love that. So I never open a cookery book. I just am cooking whatever the inspiration throws at me and whatever spirit helps support me with.
Absolutely. I'm exactly the same. And that's by design. You're a light worker. You're here to inspire creation in other people. So really, I know not that this conversation is about witchcraft at all, but witches, what they do is they manipulate energy to create feelings and situations for other people. And that's what cooking is. It's manipulating energies of different ingredients for somebody else to ingest and to raise their vibrations. That's it. It's all about walking the path of light and creating. I love it. I love food. And this is why I know I'm going to marry you. I know I say that all the time, Gemma. We're just going to end up married because
I am on the market. I am on the market. So,
Me too,
there is a possibility. There is a possibility. But yeah, it's very good, I think, to be able to cook food and to, I don't know, just create something. I don't know. I love it. I love the whole cooking process. One of the things actually that Spirit had brought in with me is that we're going to reach a stage where people are really going to struggle because we have lost that art of cooking and creating a delicious dish. People don't cook anymore. People buy, they purchase, freezer, packets, fast food, takeout. We don't cook the same. So there are many people out there that wouldn't have the foggiest on how to do a lot of the basic things in the kitchen, and would struggle to sustain themselves.
And it's just over here in America. I went back to the UK last Christmas, and I can't believe the difference in prices with food. Fresh food here in America is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Everything, all produce, fresh produce is ridiculous. So sometimes it's cheaper to eat faster. And that's hard because you are losing that spiritual connection to the land. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Eating natural food.
If somebody had said to me, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that I was going to be on this path and telling me, farm animals, horses, I would have laughed at them. But the more I have come down this path, the more I fantasize about a farm, some land, a couple of horses in a stable, pigs, a goat, I'll get some chickens. And I'm not having the pig and everything to eat. I'm just having it because actually it's a really cool animal to have around. It would be fun to have that sort of farm. Yeah. And the chicken for the vegetable, or sorry, not the chicken for the vegetables. We would have the chicken for the eggs.
Just thinking about
And then, our own vegetable patch. And I could never have imagined that for myself. But now that's exactly what I want in life. I want a simple existence like that where we can live off the land and coordinate swapping vegetables with those around us. And I think that would be a wonderful existence, and knowing from the earth how good the carrots are going to taste, and understanding the heart. It's amazing how things have started to really come full circle, and we're really starting to get back in touch with the land, as you say.
Yeah, I think it's a gratitude process. I think we're all being pushed. I definitely have my own vegetable garden. I grow a lot of my own vegetables, and more so it was a rejection of paying the extortion amount of food for chemically induced food. And it became a gratitude for Mother Nature, for Earth, for Gaia, for me to sit down, and I'm definitely led by the moon, and I have a lot of my deities in my vegetable patch as well. And I love that. I love that they're part of the creation for Full Circle for me, because I digest that food. And it's until you're on this spiritual journey and you really realize that everything is connected intrinsically, nothing will compare. And that's why you love to cook and I love to cook, is because it's not just about the eating, like you said. It's about the creating and understand where that food came from, and a deep appreciation.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So obviously you have been on this path for a while. We've talked a lot about your sobriety, but what about your spiritual gift as well? Because you are a psychic medium. You know, you have a TikTok channel, you do readings for people in addition to your coaching, you teach this as well. So tell us a little bit about that. You know, was this something that was in your family? Were you always aware of this?
So yeah, I have an cousin. You know what it's like. There's a cousin and you call her auntie because she's like 100 years older than you. She's quite renowned. And she started doing mediumship and stuff like that. I remember when I was a very, very small child, and she was also very into like the fae and elementals. But as I grew up, she stepped away from mediumship and she moved into more healing. So she does a lot of healing. She travels the world. But I don't really have much to do with her anymore. And I hear stories about great-grandparents being, you know, they have the gift. But that was it. And I always say this, and I've always known I had the gift. I've always known. When I was living in England, it was quite strong for some time because the house I was living in was very, just very awake with spirit. But I always say it was harder for me to come out as a psychic medium than it was for me to come out the closet as a lesbian. It was so hard because people would never laugh at me for being gay, but they would laugh at me for being psychic. Ridiculous. So that took me a long time, and I only went full time this year. Before that, I would do everything for friends, and I would use my intuition in my coaching, my business coaching. But when I went full time, I'm telling you, it was like a tidal wave hit me in the face.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you really just embraced it then. And have you noticed your gift, now that you have fully embraced it, have you noticed your gift really strengthening? Or how have you noticed that evolution? What has that been like?
Absolutely. So I know I'm claircognizant, always have been. Never really saw much. I would, every now and again I would, and every now and again I would hear, but I'm having a lot more of my senses awakened now. So I'm starting to see a lot, starting to hear a lot. And my attention to detail that I'm picking up every day, I'm finding something else. I just done a reading for someone yesterday. And I said, your aunt literally just dragged me somewhere and sat me down and gave me a red purse. And she said, oh my God, they left me a red purse. Like she's sitting there with it. That kind of detail I never used to get before. But now it's so comforting to know that I am the translation between somebody's loved one and themselves. It's beautiful.
And it's amazing actually to be able to bring those profound moments in for people, because it's something that in the grand scheme of it is so insignificant, really. It's like, I've got a red purse. She's given me a red purse. And then the person that's receiving the reading is like, oh my God, the red purse, that makes so much sense. Yeah. I love those moments.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. It's like, this is why I'm here. I know my purpose is to help people wake up and figure out what their life purpose is. No matter what kind of modality I do, psychic mediumship, I'm going into hypnotherapy, quantum hypnotherapy, healing. Doesn't matter what it is. My purpose ultimately is to help people figure out their purpose. But along the way, I have to help them make that connection, and I have to help them believe. It's like Christmas, right?
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
Yeah, I always was quite surprised whenever I went down the path of psychic mediumship, even whenever my gift was starting to wake up and I was starting to really use it. I still didn't see myself doing this as a career. And that was, another step out of the closet as well for me,
Yeah.
the psychic closet. And I never really seen myself doing this, as a career. I never really seen myself doing it full time. And then I thought, no, well, I'll use it as a basis for other things. And I can really see almost that it's a launch pad into different things. Yeah. And I'm going to use my gift in order to help people in possibly many different ways. Maybe I'm going to be teaching them how to cook, and I'll have a cookbook on the shelf for next Christmas. You never really know, I think is the honest answer. We have a bit of an idea of the way our path is going to go, or the direction that we're headed in. And we know as light workers that we're destined to help other people. We're here to serve. We're here to support. But actually how we do that might change and evolve over time. We don't necessarily need to be supporting them as a psychic medium, as a coach. You're talking about doing the QHHT. I have felt really drawn to hypnotherapy as well recently. So I've just started a hypnotherapy course. But I have no idea yet what I'm going to do with that. I just feel called to do it. So I'm learning, and then I'll figure it out afterwards. I know that if I'm being called to it intuitively, the Spirit have a plan for me. And another thing as well, I feel really drawn to create. I keep finding myself in the craft store. And I even, it's somewhere that I never really would have been years ago. I never would have went to the craft store. And I keep finding myself in there, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, well, I want to do something, but what is it? What is it I want to do? And I actually was in the other day again, looking and thinking, well, what is it? I know I'm to create something, but I don't know what it is. And a girl actually that I am very good friends with walked in, and that reconnected us. And I was like, oh, this is so lovely to get talking to you. And it's just really following those intuitive nudges that we get along the way, and not necessarily needing to have all of the answers at that particular time, but knowing that it serves a purpose in some way. And I have this incredible thirst for knowledge. You're probably the same, where you just can't learn enough. You just want to be learning and soaking it up as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point. Sometimes the process is the important thing. So I might go and learn to become a quantum hypnotherapy healer, but I might not practice it. It might have been things in those lessons that I needed to hear for something completely different. So going to the craft store wasn't about making a craft. It was about that connection. Yeah. For me, I have never been an artist. 3 years ago, I woke up one day and I was like, oh my God, I need to paint. And now I'm an artist. It's like, why do I need to be an artist? I don't know yet. I've just started creating spell paintings, and someone just made a suggestion and it just kind of happened. We don't know why, like you said, we just have to do, and it will all become clear. Yeah. I can't tell you how many courses I've taken that I will never use, but the information was important. The connections I made during that was important.
This is where I am. I often have a bit of a distaste towards the education system because we place so much importance on the qualification and the proof that you have learned something rather than the actual process of learning and absorbing knowledge. And I think sometimes we're focused on learning the wrong things. There's not enough spiritual education in schools, like meditation and learning about plants and the earth and, all of these different holistic ways of living. Memorizing your times tables isn't going to really be of a big, it's not going to help a lot in life. I'm sure that there will be definitely situations where knowing, 2 times 2 is 4 is important, but should it be the foundation of our learning? I'm really not sure that it should.
I do feel from spirit that the evolution of how we learn is definitely coming to the surface, and it's going to change a lot moving forward. We're going to see a lot of self-led education coming in, but I don't think even our children will see it in their lifetime. It's not there yet. But I totally agree with you. I think we're missing out on learning about how to connect our mind, our body, and our spirit. I think it's been kept from us for so long because people understood how powerful it was, and that's why they see it as something they need to control.
Always and that's a really important thing, because actually we're really not taught to live off our intuition. In school we're taught to show our working out. We have to prove the logic It's, we need the science. We can't just, oh, well, I feel this. I just feel it. I know. I have a knowing. It's like, that's rubbish. You need to see the logic. What's the science behind it? Let me see your working out. Let me see the sums. How have you come to this conclusion?
Yeah.
And actually, the feelings that we get, and whenever we're working with spirit, we can't show that. We can't justify it. It's there and we trust it.
And I love that you said we trust it, because sometimes I don't, and I will hear something and I won't say it, or I'll start to say it. And I was doing a reading yesterday, and a woman's cousin came through, and her woman's husband had come through, and he kept saying a name to me, and she was like, I don't know that name. And I was like, no, I'm getting the name. And she was like, oh, that's his friend. And I wanted to say, well, he's close enough that he would carry the coffin, but I didn't. And later on in the conversation, she went, yeah, he was an honorary pallbearer. But I didn't trust myself to say those things, even though I know it's there, because I couldn't show how I knew it. So when you're working with intuition and mediumship and your psychic skills or whatever, sometimes you just got to say it. Sometimes you just got to trust it. But we are socialized and we're trained in school, like you just said, and I didn't even think about it till you said it. If you can't show your workings out, we're not going to accept your answer.
Yeah. Oof. And, honestly, I think that there is a bit of a journey that we go through, though, whenever we're learning to trust our intuition. Whether we would label ourselves as a psychic medium or not is really irrelevant. We're all intuitive beings. Yes. Once you start to embrace that a little bit more on your path, it does take a time to relearn that. We need to learn to trust, and it's part of the healing process, I think. As we heal and as we learn to trust and to discard some of those, the logical, we need the logical response. We need to see you're working out. It really helps us then trust and embrace it a little bit more. But it is really important to achieve balance, which is one thing that I have really learned as well, because I've went from living in this world not necessarily trusting my intuition to all of a sudden trusting spirit so much that I discarded any kind of logical thinking. And I've had a few challenging lessons on that. But it's very, very important that we achieve balance. It's important to have that balance and to have a mixture. The same with Western medicine. We don't want to just rely on the intuitiveness. We don't want to just rely on the Western medicine. We want the blended approach. That's where the magic will happen, whenever the two can live and coexist together.
Duality. It is
exactly
the core of our existence. We are supposed to always practice balance, no matter what. Lots of people think that we should lean more towards one side than the other, left and the right, feminine, masculine, black and white. No, we're supposed to ride it. And some days one will favor the other, but we're supposed to spend most of our time right there in the middle, appreciating and experiencing both. I think that's the most beautiful part of this experience for me.
Well, you obviously do your readings. You do coaching. I know you have a group as well, that you have people in, a subscriber-based group. What do you do within that group?
Yeah,
how are you helping people in there?
So it's called Orphites. It is a subscribed group. We have tarot classes within there. There is a UK-based one and a US-based one. And we have a midweek manifesting class where I teach different modalities of manifesting. I think manifesting is just as important as breathing. I don't know why we have forgotten to do it, but we all know how to manifest. I don't show you, I just help you remember, because this is a past lives experience. And that's what we do, and we all share experiences, and it's a deep community where everyone completely adores and loves each other. It's very respectful. Some people are already psychic mediums. Some people are very talented tarot readers. People in there doing human design or body coding, and everyone just shares knowledge. And that, for me, just blows my mind. So I love it. It's amazing. Actually the most addictive place I've ever been.
Yeah, good. That's what you want, though. You want that for your people. You definitely want that for your people. Yes. And how can people find you online? Where can they find you?
Absolutely. The Sober Manifestor is everywhere. My company is called Orphic and Above. You can go ahead and put that in Google, but I am on Instagram predominantly and TikTok. If you want to see my face live and have a conversation with me, TikTok, 100%.
Yeah, definitely TikTok. And is there anything interesting that you have coming up at the minute that you're eager to really talk about or share with people, or any words of wisdom that you want to leave people with?
Absolutely. I do have some things coming out in January that I'm working on. The biggest thing that I'm putting together right now is a 30-day manifesting, I want to say challenge, but it's more like a planner as well. It's kind of both. But I have found in my manifesting journey, there's a lot of people who don't feel creative or don't have the ability to write. And we're shown that to manifest, you've got a script. You got to write, and it's just go get yourself a new notebook and pen and paper. I do that. I tell people that, and then I'm looking around and I'm looking at my little girl, and she doesn't have the ability to script like that over pages and pages of her perfect life. And then I'm thinking about my other daughter who's 20, and she has hard comprehension values. So she doesn't know how to do that either. What about the people who don't have the ability to write? So I've got a 30-day challenge of how people can do something different every day to manifest using visualization techniques, using the power of music, word, manifesting in the mundane. So while you're doing the dishes, how can you manifest? There's no writing involved unless you want to make notes. And I'm really excited about that.
Good. I'm really excited. I kind of want to be a part of it.
Yes, please. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, honestly, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey with us. It has been amazing. I've loved having you, and I would love to have you on again in the future as well, actually. I'm sure there's lots more conversations that we could have, and hopefully the audience as well, the listeners, will be able to be inspired by you and to connect with you online as well.
I love it. And I just can't thank you enough. Our meeting was very strange. You came across my TikTok one day, and yes, I'm a psychic, and I thought, no, this girl, she needs to help me. Like, I'm being called to her. And our first reading was so profound. It really put me on my path for the future. And can I say one thing? I know we're getting ready to get off. I remember sitting there having my reading. It was stupid o'clock in the morning. My girlfriend, fiance, was upstairs, and you said, just as you were saying, oh, this relationship's not your forever, she was walking down the stairs. And she didn't say she heard it or anything. And we carried on with our day. And a month later, she sat down and she was like, I don't love you anymore. I haven't loved you for about a year. And I knew in that moment, Gemma is going to be in my life forever. I trust her with my energy. And I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen many mediums, and you're the first person who's connected with me. And a lot of people are challenged, and you got it. So I'm really appreciative of you.
That's amazing. I definitely think sometimes people are brought onto our path for a reason, without a doubt. And we may not even know necessarily what that reason is, but I am really pleased that I was able to give you that reading. And I felt that I really connected with you as well in that session. So
same.
Yeah. But everything happens. Even the moment that I probably spoke that as your ex-fiance was walking down those stairs was probably all orchestrated perfectly by spirit.
Exactly. And I trust spirit. So when it happened, did I lose myself and just go nuts and go back into drink? No, I just understood this was all part of my journey. I feel my feelings. I live in those not meth moments in that middle ground. And I carry on with my life. I take my lessons and I move forward. And that's what this is about. It's about moving on constantly, no matter how much you get kicked, keep getting up.
Yeah. It teaches us to be resilient, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're here for a short time. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to your 30-day challenge, your 30-day manifestation challenge. I'll definitely be doing that.
Wonderful. I can't wait. And maybe one day I'll propose to you live on air.
Maybe, and I'll be fiance number 2. Although fiance number 1, really. I know I'm coming after her, but best.
The only.
Top. Yeah.
Yeah, the best.
Oh. Well, it has been absolutely a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you're able to, please rate the show or leave feedback on your chosen podcast player. You can also visit the podcast website. Simply head across to thehappypsychic.show, and you can also find me on the socials by searching for @Gemma Lonsdale Guru.